Who is your daddy? I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
All right, so we are talking about... Oh, this is our Badass Award. This is always a fun one. So this is just your personal pick for game that either you would just describe in general as the most badass game, or you felt like the biggest badass as you played it. So maybe it's the way the combat made you feel or whatever. So what's the first game from 2018 that comes to mind when you think this is the most badass game of the year? Dan, what about you?
Okay. My personal most badass game of the year?
Yeah.
I gotta say it's gotta be God of War. That's the top of my list just because everything the combat did. Throwing the axe. I just felt like such a badass when the combos were going, linking everything together, using all the different powers together. Some of those big battles were just challenging, and when everything would go right, you wouldn't take a hit, and it just felt great.
Yeah. Okay.
Boy.
Jesse, what about you?
For the Badass Award, it's definitely God of War.
Yeah.
He's just badass.
He is.
Spider-Man's cool and all, but Kratos could probably crush his skull like a apple or something.
And I gotta say though, I liked what God of War did, the parrying and the combos, everything worked really well there. It just felt so good. It had such a nice feel to it. But Dead Cells felt really good. Like when everything would click there, I felt like a badass too. Far Cry 5 going into a camp with like a light machine gun and a rocket launcher and just blowing everything up and a bear chasing after you. That felt great. And then I think Spider-Man, as far as a comic book game, that did a good job making you feel like a superhero. So I think, those are really the games that just, like, God, I felt like a badass playing them. And I'd say Assassin's Creed too, but maybe those games a little bit more.
I know this game probably won't rank very high on this for most people, but I tell you what, getting 3 headshots in a row in Shadow of the Tomb Raider was pretty awesome too.
Hey, I thought it was honestly the best gun combat of the series. It was just unfortunate that there wasn't as much combat in that game as there was prior. Like the end of that game, there was a ton of it, but it's just there was a few stealth sections and a couple other areas that you met up with some enemies, but not to say I didn't like it. Shadow of the Tomb Raider ranks really high on my list. But as far as feeling like a badass, I felt like you did. It was just so few and far between in that game.
You didn't have enough opportunity.
Yeah. But when you did, it felt great. The stealth was awesome, and the gun combat I thought was definitely better than Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Yep.
It's just there wasn't as much combat there.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider was a huge letdown.
It was a little bit.
We do have that category coming up here in the next episode, our most disappointing game of the year. That one's up there. Derek, what game made you feel most like a badass, or you would just say, no, this game is just flat out badass. You can't deny it. Which game comes to mind?
Oh, it's got to be God of War. Especially New Game Plus, like unlocking like everything and the whole loop of getting better armor and upgrading your character. I don't know. It's just super smooth. There's even stuff and again, keep in mind when I played it the first time, I had so many mental issues that I don't feel like I really even grasped how deep the game was. I really wasn't focusing on a lot of things. I was just kind of playing it. So the second time that I'm playing it, I'm really paying attention to things. I'm doing combos that I didn't even know existed, or I must have unlocked and didn't remember, whatever. But I've just enjoyed it thoroughly the second time around way more than I did the first time around. And again, I still thought it was a good game the first time around. I was at that stage where I was like, I feel like this is overrated, but it's really not.
Yeah, so I don't disagree with that. God of War is a good pick. I want to give quick shout outs to games like Hitman 2.
Sea of Thieves, Sea of Thieves is really good. Combat's really good. Hey guys, my name's Tim, and I just want to tell you, Sea of Thieves is really good.
That was fun.
I am now from South Carolina. Is that what it is? I'm from the deep South. All right.
For those who weren't watching on YouTube, I was doing that. So I like Sea of Thieves.
I'm a big Sea of Thieves fan, and
I really like it.
I like to be a pirate. All right, so Hitman 2 has some awesome badass moments. Not enough to take the number one spot for me personally, but it's one of those, of course, overlooked games of the year because it came out at a weird time. It feels a little bit like it was not talked about at all as a major sequel, which is exactly what it was. But anyway, Hitman 2 it continues that trend of having some really cool badass moments you can do in that game. I think Red Dead Redemption 2 also had a few of those moments as well, where I felt pretty badass as I was playing it. But for me, despite God of War being really close, I'm going to have to go with Assassin's Creed Odyssey being the game that made me feel most like a badass. And it's probably because I put the most time into it. I maxed out all the abilities, and I got to the point where I didn't even try to stealth anymore. And if you guys know me, I love using the stealth elements of a game, but I actually, by the end, I loved the actual combat so much. I would just run head first, sometimes ride my horse head first into a camp, hop off my horse, and just battle everybody because it was so fun. And so I thought that game was not only fun to play, but also taking down these massive beasts and some of these bosses that you don't really expect to fight against in an Assassin's Creed game. I felt like an incredible badass in that game. Loved it. Absolutely love it. So, all right. So there's our picks for Badass Award. Jesse, we got yours too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, God of War.
That's right. So,
Boy.
boy. And by the way, can we just say that at the Game Awards, it was cool when Christopher Judge did that little boy moment. That was cool.
Yes, it was.
Okay, so let's talk about the best multi-platform games of the year. Let me just explain real quick why we do this in addition to overall game of the year and console exclusives. I think most years there is a very clear-cut top of the food chain. And so when you allow there to be, okay, what about the best console exclusives for each of those platforms and then the best multi-platform, it gives you other games a chance to shine a bit when they wouldn't normally. So it allows you to fit a few more into the list that wouldn't normally make it. So like, for example, if an exclusive, let's say from 2017, pretty universally loved, something like Zelda or Horizon Zero Dawn, some of these games that were at the top of everybody's lists, when you do, okay, let's cut out exclusives and just do third party, then you had a chance to let some of the really awesome third party stuff.
Like Mass Effect Andromeda.
Like Mass Effect Andromeda. And Assassin's Creed Origins, exactly. So this year, I'm going to run through a quick list of ones that came to mind for me. You guys feel free to add on whatever quote unquote nominations you want, and then we'll try to pare this down to a top 10 here. And then this is how we're going to wrap it up. So A Way Out, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Battlefield 5, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Celeste, which is a critical darling, Conan.
Suck it, Darren.
Conan Exiles, which we could probably kick off already. Darksiders 3, Dead Cells, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Fallout 76, Far Cry 5, Guacamelee 2, which I have purchased but not played yet. I feel bad about that. Hitman 2, Iconoclasts, Jurassic World Evolution, Just Cause 4, Little Dragons Cafe, which I'm gifting to Derek for Christmas. Madden NFL 19, Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, Monster Hunter World, NBA and NHL, Overcooked 2, Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire, Red Dead Redemption 2, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Soul Calibur 6, Starlink Battle for Atlas, The Banner Saga 3, Valkyria Chronicles 4, Vampire, or is it Vampire? I don't know. And We Happy Few.
Wow, I completely forgot about We Happy Few.
Yeah, me too.
So did everybody else.
So did everyone.
I seriously doubt that game sold well.
No, I don't think so either. And it's weird because it came out at a pretty good time to get some attention. But anyway.
Oh, I would have bought it if it reviewed good. It had my interest. It just reviewed so terribly. I was like, no, I'm not wasting my time.
They should have put that one back in the oven for a bit if it wasn't ready. But anyway, so whether I left one out or whether from that list, what games would you guys, and just start throwing some of the names out there. You don't have to give too much explanation yet. What games would you say off the top of your head belong in our top 10?
Odyssey.
Okay.
Yep, I think Assassin's Creed Odyssey's got to be there, as well as Red Dead Redemption 2. Both those I think are gimmies.
Okay.
I know you guys were disappointed by it, but I think Shadow of the Tomb Raider belongs in the top 10.
Okay.
I agree. I think it needs to be on this list.
Calibur 6.
Really?
And I'm not a big fighting game guy, and I think Dragon Ball Z Fighter might have been better fighter, but I'm such a big Soul Calibur fan. I think we can squeeze that in.
Yeah, I agree with Soul Calibur.
Another one I got to throw out, Far Cry 5. Like Tim said, it's probably one of the best mechanics in a Far Cry game. This is the first Far Cry game I played start to finish, and I couldn't put it down the whole way. I absolutely loved it. Everything from flying planes, helicopters, dropping in and just bombing the shit out of everything. I mean, bears coming in with me, cougars. It was seriously such a well done game.
It was.
I don't know how you could leave Far Cry off this list.
I'm going to move Hitman 2 over to that column for right now, even though I realize I might be the only one here who's played it. I'm going to put Monster Hunter World there as well, understanding that both of those nominations might get kicked off the list, but I love them both.
I know you could probably fight for either one of these, but I think Call of Duty Black Ops 4 belongs on the list just because of its multifaceted approach. With it being a complete multiplayer experience, whether it's the competitive multiplayer, the zombies, and the blackout, I just think those 3 modes are all excellent in one nice package. I definitely think it should be a multi-platform game.
Can we put Dead Cells over there too, since we've talked about it so much?
Please do.
Yeah.
I have a pitch for Vampire, even though I know everybody will probably shoot it down.
Let's hear
it. So I know that most people dock it for its combat, which I think is probably warranted. But the world that they created, I think, is very interesting.
Okay.
I like the characters that you interact with. The main protagonist that you play as, I think, is a fairly decent, interesting character. The idea that you're going out fighting these, vampires. I think they all call them vampires. That's what I'm going to freaking call them. Exploring this very interesting world. I thought it was very interesting. Then making these decisions about who you want to feed on and who you want to allow to survive I thought was an interesting mechanic. It could absolutely be improved on, but I haven't seen something like that. I thought that was kind of innovative. So I have a pitch for it, but
I think it can go over there for now, but we might have to fight on that one later. I haven't played it, so I can't really speak to it. I really want to like that game. It looks like it'd be cool, but it might not just be the caliber of game I'm looking for. I want to throw out 2 of the indie ones that you mentioned. I push more for Guacamelee 2. Even though it's reductive of Latin culture, I think that this is a remarkable side-scrolling Metroidvania.
For those of you who didn't listen to our last episode with Bobby Pauls, we actually referenced that too, about how in a recent large podcast group, that was a major discussion where, folks were basically sharing, and they weren't doing it in a super triggered way, but you could tell they were kind of triggered, that Guacamelee 2 was reductive of the Mexican culture. And I'm just sitting there shaking my head like, are you kidding me right now? This is a really interesting, fascinating, and funny take on a culture that rarely gets the spotlight. Why would you whine about? I don't know. Whatever. I'm sorry.
And to me, it's something like
that's my white privilege.
But it's like, like Rockstar does with Grand Theft Auto. I mean, it's a very American satire. I mean, I don't know. I think Guacamelee is great. I think the humor is spot on. I laugh all the time.
Combat's really fun.
Yeah, it's just a really good game. You can on the new one, you can do 4-player drop in, drop out co-op. So I just think it's a really fun game.
Do you have that on Switch, Dan?
Actually, I got it on PS4. Me and my daughter have been playing it on PS4. Right. So
I just got it on Switch. I just haven't tried it out yet.
It is a very cool game. So I'd push for that being on the list, as well as, and this is probably the one that would get kicked off, but I at least got to say it, Celeste. I thought it was a very interesting challenge platforming game. I like platforming games. The Super Meat Boy, those types of things. I'm more of a Mario purist, but definitely I thought Celeste was a good platforming game. So
I'll be honest, I already moved it over to that list because I love that game.
Okay, so I thought it was great, but I didn't know if I'd be alone on that. Definitely really
You
cool.
should be alone, and you should be ashamed.
I am.
Unfortunately, my co-host is a piece of shit.
Okay.
Hey, Derek, which one is more embarrassing, Celeste or Sea of Thieves?
Gosh, you're just an embarrassment. You really are.
I knew Derek was
You're
showing me a little bit at least. So.
Golly. Celeste is really good, guys. So good.
It is. All right, so what else? Are
The
we
way
missing
it
anything
just
else?
pushes that feminist agenda. It's just really good, guys.
It's not feminist at all. All right, whatever.
I love how he tries to fight me. Do not try to fight me with logic. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I won't. I keep got to remind myself of that. All right.
Just so that I can fight with Tim, I think Forza should be on the list.
It should. That's not a multi-platform game.
Oh, you're right.
So, by the way,
I keep thinking PC.
Yeah.
And
I
keep
did not clarify that at the beginning if it was also on PC because we are primarily a console-centric show. Although Derek does have a PC, we are considering these multi-platform only if they've been on 2 or more consoles. So, yeah. All right. Although that one would deserve to be on there if it were multi-platform. All
Does
right.
Hollow Knight apply, or is that technically last year?
Yeah. So Hollow Knight and Owlboy, I like both of those games, but they were both technically PC games from last year. So they're kind of re-releases in a way. So that's a tough one. That's where it gets kind of weird. Like, okay, I don't count PC for multi-platform, but I guess I kind of count it that it's been out for a long time and it just got released on new consoles recently. So
I think you could count them though, just for the simple fact because it's our show. We don't have to follow other people's rules. But also it's because we don't really talk about PC games. So those games came out last year on PC
It's
and
true.
we weren't talking about them because we don't care.
that is true. I liked both of those games. Apologies ahead of time to our buddy Rudy. I don't like Hollow Knight that much. I like it, but I don't really
I like
it.
Hollow Knight.
I liked Owlboy a lot more. I thought it had a very funny and interesting story in addition to being a very fun game with visuals that were fantastic too. So
Sure, they're both really good.
Derek, you had a chance to say no, they both don't count, move on, but you're the one who made an argument for him. So pick a lane, pal. All right.
Well, I just wanted y'all to talk about them more so I could get angry.
Yeah, that's fair. So we can add those onto this list. We'll see if they survive. I think we're up to 13 or 14 and we need to narrow it down to 10. Let me add those in here.
Is there
So
a
what do we
place
currently
to
have?
see this list?
Say what now?
I was trying to see. You say you're moving them over to a list? Is there a place to see the list?
Yeah, can you share it?
I could. Give me a second here. I was doing it.
His ego won't allow it because he wants us to see his face.
He does have full control.
He's GLaDOS.
You guys are mean. All right, hang on a second here. How do I see if I can share my screen?
All right. Well, while Tim's doing that, I gotta say though, as far as the multi-platform game of the years, I think some of the best games this year though that were multi-platform were Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Red Dead Redemption 2. I think in some form or another, those 2 games have to host the top of the list.
I wholeheartedly vote Assassin's Creed then, even though I didn't play it.
In my personal pick of those 2 games, I would put Assassin's Creed at the top of the list because to me it was an overall more fun experience. It was just a very fun, complete package. Liked everything that Red Dead Redemption did, but it did things in its own way, and it really forced you to play it a certain way. And it was a very slow, methodical way of living in that world. And while it was fun in the same time, I would have liked to have a little more choice in maybe how I played that game. But
Can it be? Does anybody care about A Way Out? Because I
No.
like the game.
I
but
haven't.
We never finished it.
I haven't played it yet because Tim keeps denying my requests. But eventually,
Yeah, I haven't had a partner to play it with yet.
You know what, Jesse? I play with you more than Tim. I probably should just beat the game with you and then let Dan deal with Tim's bullshit drama.
I'm sorry,
Derek. I'm sorry, Derek. I got 17K.
You missed the first 40 minutes of the show because you were fighting with a soccer ref or something. All right. My drama. Okay. Let's talk about what we've got here. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, and you guys hopefully can see the screen, on the left-hand side are just a whole bunch of multi-platform games that I pulled from, games that came out this year. And we added in a couple like Hollow Knight and Owlboy to this list. What you see under the final ranking are the ones that we pulled over into this column, and then I'll start dragging them up into place when it's time to really rank them. So right now they're just alphabetical.
All
And
right.
it sounds
so-
like
so-
Dan already made a argument for Assassin's Creed to be towards the top.
Yep.
So
No, it needs to be number 1.
it needs to. Yeah, it should be number 1.
it's my personal favorite multi-platform game of the year.
All right,
I
let's
think
just
we,
put
I
it
think we
number
all
one.
can. I think we all
Tim's just
can
mad
agree.
because we're killing the suspense. It's number 1.
It totally is number one. And for me, it's followed very, very, very closely by Red Dead Redemption 2 at number 2.
I agree.
So I'll move that up. I'll move it up
I
close.
disagree.
Moving
Yep,
up
me
close. Relax. Moving up close. We need to get rid of a few though.
I agree.
Are we getting rid of a few from this right list or from
Yeah.
the left list?
The right list.
Okay.
Well, there's one more on the left list that I think deserves to be at least recognized. Divinity: Original Sin 2. I don't know if that's a game any of you other guys played.
Did that come out this year? I thought that was last year.
No, Original Sin Divinity 2 came out this year. It came out in
really?
September. I have
I would agree with that then.
I got a terrorist Muslim friend that bought me that game for Christmas, and it is fantastic.
No one's listening to anything else you have to say. They just want to hear that story.
You know, as far as an RPG goes, though, the depth and what you can do in that game and how you can attack or approach different situations is literally Dungeons and Dragons in a video game, and I think it's just perfect. I haven't got too far into that game, but it's definitely a game that's like once I start playing it, I think it's I'm going to be there for a while.
I'd wholeheartedly agree with that.
All right. Well, I want to move games like Far Cry and Dead Cells onto the list just to make sure they're in there.
Please, I think both those games deserve to be on this list.
I want Far Cry 5 at number 2, just so y'all know.
I'll take it at number 3, but I don't know number 2.
I'd put it at number 2.
That's a tough one for me. I do personally like Red Dead 2 more, but not that much more. I think Far Cry 5 is truly fantastic. So for right now, I'll leave those there. I do think Monster Hunter World belongs up there.
I would put Monster Hunter World at 3 for me.
I think it could be on the bottom of the list, but I'd be okay with it on the list. I just wasn't as big of a fan.
I'll move Shadow up there. I know Dan and Jesse both like that one a lot.
Yep.
I thought it was good. Just it wasn't super memorable, and I didn't love it like I did the other ones. But I do. I can't pretend like it's a bad game like Derek does. Okay.
I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it. It was just very different from the two that have come before it, and
it was made by a different developer.
Yeah, and I don't really like Eidos Montreal, and I was concerned about them making the game from the start. I wish Crystal Dynamics would have did it, but I think overall it's a fine game. But the more I reflect on it, it's probably the weakest of the trilogy.
Okay.
It is the weakest of the trilogy, but that's
still a really, really good trilogy.
It was still a really fun game, and I enjoyed
the weakest of an awesome trilogy.
Yeah, and I thought it was very good as far as games that came out this year.
I do think if I'm thinking about the best 10 multi-platform games of the year, I've got to put Hitman 2 up there. For anyone who plays it, you'll quickly discover it's got pretty much all of the, or I should say most of the production quality that you want. It's got tons of options to take down your marks. It's got lots and lots of additional content that they will continue to add. They already did. They added Sean Bean as a elusive target already, and they have more stuff like that coming. I think
totally agree with you.
Hitman 2 is fantastic, and I'm glad they went back to hey, here's the entire game as opposed to releasing it episodically. So I think Hitman 2 belongs. I'm okay if it's at the bottom of the list, but it's got to be in the top 10.
I'm okay if Hitman 2's on the list, then I want Divinity 2 on it as well.
I want Divinity 2 on it as well.
I don't know anything about it other than what I've read, so I'll just trust your guys' judgment on that. I played a little bit of the first one.
I typically don't like those isometric ones. Diablo is about the only real isometric type RPG that I like, but this one it's really something awesome.
This one's even more isometric.
It is, but it's just got so much.
It's supposed to be faster paced than the original one, which makes me happier.
Right.
It is. I like it. I like the combat. I like everything about it.
For what it's worth,
I plan on getting on the Xbox One X.
That's where I got it. That's where it looks best. I mean, it's a great looking game.
You're wrong. I have a PC, motherfucker.
Well, I don't know if it's on PC. Then sure, whatever.
It was downloading your PC.
Yep, you download the drivers. And,
he just disrespected my PC.
Whatever you got to do. You might get it running by next year.
As of right now, we've got basically 2 more openings, and I would suggest that we put Celeste up in one of those.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
I think Celeste should be up there.
I'm at least going to move it here. It might not stay there, but I want to just mention
the 3 that stick out, and I'm only including Celeste because y'all said it, is Soul Calibur 6 and Vampire.
As to get rid of or to put up there?
To put up there. I don't care about any of the other ones. Like, well, Starlink I like better than Celeste, but you guys aren't going to pick Starlink over Celeste.
I wouldn't, but I do want to at least say Starlink is one of the more surprising games of the year. It's just really good fun. I do recommend it. I think Starlink is a blast.
I think with what's on this list left, we need one more, right?
Yeah.
I would probably put Soul Calibur above everything else on that list just for what it is.
Then over what's left, you mean?
Yeah, so Celeste has to be there, but if we got everything else, I think Soul Calibur, I'd put
Celeste
it over.
can go.
Yep.
Celeste can go. That's two people saying Celeste can.
Yeah, but there's
suck
two
it.
people that say Celeste should stay.
Yep.
Yes, but it's the God rule. I have more points than all of you.
I still think Celeste is better than a game like Vampire or Starlink, I think. So I think it should be there.
I mean, I've got Celeste on my personal list, ranked higher than Shadow of the Tomb Raider, higher than Hitman 2. So not higher than the other ones on there. Not higher than Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Red Dead, or Dead Cells, or Monster Hunter. But I do have Celeste rated somewhat high.
I'd probably take most of that list on the left over Celeste.
Oh, have you even played Celeste?
I actually have played it for about 10 minutes.
Celeste is fantastic. I like that list of 10 games that we have now. I think that's what we should stand on.
I mean, the only other one that I'd be like, all right, if we have to lose Celeste, then I'd probably put Starlink up there, but I wouldn't fight too hard against it.
I will take Starlink over Celeste.
I'd take Call of Duty over Starlink.
I would take Call of Duty over Celeste.
I would take Call of Duty over Celeste and Starlink.
Oh man, really?
Yes.
I like Black Ops 4. I like
Black Ops 4 a lot.
That's a good game. It's a very competent game.
I powered through my first Prestige on Black Ops 4 quicker than I've done on any Call of Duty game in the last 5 years. So,
all right, Jesse, have you played Soul Calibur 6?
Yes.
And you think it deserves to be on the top 10 of
Yes,
best?
that's an exceptional fighting game.
Okay.
It's very good.
All right. So it's hard for me to maintain the argument for Celeste unless, Dan, you would say, not only would I have it on there, but I'd have it pretty high on the list. Where would you actually land this, you personally, out of these 10 that are right here?
Out of Celeste, I'd probably put it at number 8.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have it much higher than 6 at the most, based just on this list right here.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably have it at about 6.
I would have it on like 50.
Okay.
1,000. So if we're gonna do averages, that means it's not top 10. Get that trash out of here. Look at him. He's frustrated because he's like, but Derek hasn't even played it. It doesn't matter. It's trash.
I really like Celeste, but it sounds like,
it's a combined list. We have to listen to the crowd.
Call of Duty would be my backup behind Celeste, and those two are more on Call of Duty than Celeste. So
all right, so some games that were considered but didn't make the cut. Boy, it's a whole bunch of indies here. We've got Celeste, Hollow Knight, Owlboy, Starlink, which is not an indie, and Vampire. That were all
out of all those games that are left down there, I like Vampire the most.
Okay. And Jesse, you're the same way?
I know Jesse. That's the only reason why I'm mentioning it. Jesse feels the same way. Does anybody else have
I would put Vampire over Black Ops, but I don't get any support there. So
I'd put Celeste over Black Ops or Vampire.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just stick with Call of Duty because it's the only one where I think all of us semi-agree.
Okay.
I agree.
So good try to those 5, but they did not quite make the
Bye,
cut.
Celeste. Nobody cares about you, you piece of shit.
Hey, everyone cares about Celeste. Hey, Derek, they won Games for Impact at the Game Awards. So
I'm sure for the feminist agenda.
Oh yeah, it's super feminist. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about these 10 then. I kind of grouped them a little bit based on how quickly we moved them up there.
Let's start from to build suspense. Let's start from the bottom and work our way to the top.
So at the bottom, we've got Call of Duty and Soul Calibur 6, Divinity 2, and Hitman 2 as our bottom 4.
I would order Hitman. Hitman on the bottom is where I would put it.
Okay. Well, none of you have played it, so that's a tough one.
I played Hitman 1, and it's a lot like Hitman 1. I've really tried to get into those games, and I really like the stealth and all that stuff. I just couldn't get very far into Hitman 1. I just kept making everything a mess. I think it's fine for what it's trying to do. It's not my
Cup
you
of
know,
tea.
I will say
So-
this in the Hitman 2 game, you can dress up like a pink flamingo mascot, sabotage a race car that then crashes going like 200 miles an hour, and no one knows it was you. Feels pretty good. Feels pretty
See,
good.
that's
I would do-
my thing with like the Hitman games is I'm acknowledging it's my fault. If I was any good at them, if I was smart enough to do things and not screw everything up,
Yep.
and I could experience what Tim just said, I would probably be like, this game needs to be top 5. But because I suck, I always screw up the mission, and they always find me or something stupid happens. I just
Exactly.
can't get into
Dude,
those games.
there's a
Nope.
mission where you can you knock out a tattoo artist that's going to meet with this drug lord that you're supposed to kill. You go in there dressed as a tattoo artist, and you keep messing up until he makes everyone leave the room so you can concentrate. And then you just shove the tattoo needle right through his ear. It's fantastic.
awesome.
It's fantastic.
See, you sell me on it every time. So I have a Hitman on PC. I plan on diving into that.
Where
I
does
would do-
Divinity and Soul Calibur and Call of Duty belong?
All right,
in
I-
respect to
So,
each other?
well, I would actually do Divinity, Hitman, Soul Calibur, Call of Duty.
And I'd be close with what Jesse's saying. I would probably do Divinity, Call of Duty, Soul Calibur, Hitman.
See, Soul Calibur's higher up for me. I put Soul Calibur before all of them. Then Divinity. Even though I haven't played it, I know I'll like it because I played the original. Then I would do Hitman 2 and then Call of Duty.
The only reason I don't need Call of Duty any higher than 10 is because it is mostly multiplayer only. They have essentially these little training kind of
Yeah.
short missions that are single player, but it's primarily multiplayer only. Don't get me wrong, there is plenty to do in that game. There's a ton to do. It's just no single player, 6 to 8 hour campaign like you're used to with Call of Duty. So it's a little different, but there are so many game modes. It's a high quality game, deserves to be on the list, but 10 is fine for me. I don't have much of an opinion on Soul Calibur or Divinity. So Hitman in this right now, it's sitting at 8. I'm fine with that. But if you guys are arguing that Soul Calibur and Divinity should maybe be swapped, or maybe Hitman moves down to 9.
I don't know. I like it how it
Listed
is.
now is exactly how I would do it.
Yeah, I like Divinity above all those, so I'm okay with how it is right now. If you had to swap Hitman and Soul Calibur, I'm fine with that.
Swap Hitman.
I should.
But that'd be Derek's. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we've got Call of Duty, Black Ops 4 at 10, Hitman 2 is at number 9, Soul Calibur 6. Essentially, Soul Calibur 6 and Divinity are tied, but Soul Calibur 6 is at 8. Divinity Original Sin 2 is sitting at 7. So now I move up to the next segment of games.
I just want to say that Monster Hunter World to me is better than Dead Cells and Shadow of Tomb Raider.
No, to me, Monster Hunter belongs at 10. So I'm probably on the opposite side of this game as you guys. To me, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I played it with some friends, sunk some time into it. At the end of the day, it wasn't something I wanted to keep doing.
I love Monster Hunter World.
See,
If you would have played it with those little Japanese boys, like I did.
I was playing it with some friends in the group and stuff. But I think
They're not Japanese.
Call of Duty and Divinity were both games that I would keep going back to and want to play more than I would that. So I think it deserves to be a little bit higher.
Jesse, did you play Monster Hunter World?
I did not.
So,
but I'm confident I would like Divinity more than Monster Hunter World.
Okay. So you don't have any need for it to be, and so based on what you know of it, Shadow of the Tomb Raider would probably be higher on this list for you.
Easily.
Yep, I agree.
And
I would put Shadow of the Tomb Raider, a bit higher.
So of the 6 games that remain, we've got Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Far Cry 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, Dead Cells, Monster Hunter World, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. That's actually the order that I would personally put them in. The only one that I might be okay swapping is Far Cry 5 and Red Dead 2. Otherwise, that is the order that I like. I much preferred the top 5 over Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is sitting at 6th right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time putting it any higher than 6th. I just thought, and let me talk negatively about this game, and hopefully you don't think I hate it, because I really did think it was a fun game. But I thought Shadow of the Tomb Raider really struggled to find its footing in exactly what it was trying to do. Like I felt like the character of Laura was really compelling in the first game, and seemed to kind of step into her own in the second game. But in the third game, it was like she was straddling this line between naive and optimistic at times, but then also super cold-hearted and too bad I have to get this artifact at other times. And I really had trouble with what they tried to do with the story. So we're not even just talking about the gameplay experience. I really had trouble with thinking the story was any fun. And it didn't help that I thought the stealth and combat mechanics feel really dated now to me as I'm playing through this game. It feels like now it just feels like an older game when I was playing it. I didn't think it was all that fun moment to moment. So that's my take on Shadow. I didn't think it was all that great.
Well, so for me, the whole new trilogy of the Tomb Raider games, I haven't given a damn about the story, to be honest. I've thought all three of them have had fairly weak stories, to be honest.
No, that's fair.
But I thought the moment-to-moment gameplay of Shadow of the Tomb Raider was quite fun. I thoroughly enjoyed the moment-to-moment gameplay. So I thought the tombs were awesome.
Yes.
Going in, trying to solve those puzzles. Some of them were actually kind of challenging. I thought those were fun. And the combat, when it happened, I thought was very solid and quite fun. Pretty badass, actually.
I thought it was really cool just as far as some of the environmental traversal challenges in the game, the exploration, and like the tombs were just ginormous in this one, and they were complex and had a lot of stuff going on in them. They were definitely the highlight of the tombs in any of the series. So
easily
in this trilogy. So I don't know. I really enjoyed Shadow of the Tomb Raider, much more. And I just, like I said, I would put Monster Hunter on the bottom of this list. So I'm fine with it being somewhere in the middle, but I would definitely think Shadow would be
All right,
a little higher than it.
Just so y'all know, I would put Monster Hunter World at 3. So it's pretty high up.
I've got that one relatively high as well. I actually struggle between Dead Cells and Monster Hunter World because I like them both so much.
Well, if we're that divisive on it, then I think going the order that we have it, Shadow Hunter, Monster Hunter, then Dead Cells, I would be okay with those three next. In that order.
Okay.
So for what it's worth, I would put Monster Hunter or Shadow over Dead Cells.
I would put both of those over Dead Cells. Again,
Yeah,
I like Dead Cells, but I've said it already. To me, it was never felt like I was moving forward. It's just like a game that I'm just doing the same thing over and over. I've always felt like I was moving forward in Monster Hunter World, and then obviously Shadow of the Tomb Raider is more of a linear game. So I think those two are easily more fun to play than Dead Cells.
So the suggestion then is maybe moving Dead Cells below both of these?
Yeah.
As some kind of compromise?
Yes.
If I'm being honest, I would probably put Divinity over Dead Cells also.
I would too.
Dan, what about you?
Well, I'd put Soul Calibur 6 as well. Dan,
I would also.
I know Tim won't go for that, but I'm just saying.
I haven't played Divinity or Soul Calibur, so I want to be careful at saying they're not as good as Dead Cells. I just know that Dead Cells to me was one of the most
care about Soul Calibur.
No, I probably won't. Divinity I can appreciate because I did put some hours into the original and thought it was pretty amazing. So I'm sure that
much better.
I'm sure that I would like the second one. But I don't know. There's something about Dead Cells that had a combination of really in-depth combat like we talked about and this really super addictive quality to it where I just could not stop. One more run. Okay, one more run. How far can I get this time? It was just so addicting and so much fun. I can't even think of much that I would say, hey, if Dead Cells did this, it would be way better. Like, there's not much I can even say that would improve the
I already
gameplay.
told you if they would have done what I said to do that I would love it.
I know, but I didn't listen to what you said. So
I don't know how much this would matter, but I bet you Divinity Original Sins 2 probably has the best Metacritic score out of anything that's on that
It does. It's like a 96 or something. It's real high. 93, 94 or something.
I mean, I'd honestly put it up there. If we're gonna argue, I'd put it above Monster Hunter if we could.
I would too.
Tomb Raider.
I would be okay with putting Divinity over Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but I would want to move Dead Cells down. And
I'd be okay with that. As much as I love Dead Cells, I mean, and I'm with everything that Tim's saying, Dead Cells is fantastic, but I'd push a little bit harder on Divinity.
So much to my chagrin, it sounds like you're suggesting this,
Yes.
and you'll cave on leaving Monster Hunter World one spot above Shadow because we moved Divinity up and Dead Cells down.
I
Yes.
think I would.
I'm
almost
okay
put
with that.
I'd put Divinity above Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
I would be okay with Divinity being above both of those, but I would flip Monster Hunter and Shadow.
No.
I would too. Honestly, I would. But if we're gonna leave them, put Divinity above Monster Hunter and Shadow. Then
You have Call of Duty on this list. You get no more opinions, Dan.
all right, let's
The
take
only-
Call of Duty
like,
off. I don't need to stand on that one.
I don't I don't really feel the need to say whether I think Shadow is above or below Divinity. I'm okay with deferring to you guys on that one. I do think, since I love Dead Cells so much, maybe even more than Monster Hunter World, I at least want Monster Hunter World to stay above where Shadow is. Because I've played both those games start to finish. My
Okay.
experience with Monster Hunter World was far superior.
Okay,
So-
Then I say to, well,
I agree.
sorry, Dan. I would say to keep it the way it is right now for that lower tier. Then
So we've got
I don't. I
Call of
want,
Duty at 10, Hitman 2 at 9, Soul Calibur at 8, Dead Cells dropped down to 7, Divinity moved up to 6, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider sitting at 5, which leaves Monster Hunter World at 4th, which is just one spot off of where I had it at 5th and one spot off where Derek had it at 3rd, which basically means I gave up on Dead Cells in order to keep it up that high, and I'm okay with that.
Which is funny because you liked Monster Hunter World more than me, yet
I did.
I'm wanting it higher up than you.
Yeah.
But that's also because I didn't get into Red
So-
Dead like you did.
Yeah, Red Dead is one that I like way more than you too. Yeah. Yeah.
so time for controversial opinions. I would put Monster Hunter and Shadow over Red Dead.
no.
Well,
You
talk
did
about Red
not
Dead a little
care
bit,
about Red
Jesse.
Dead as much.
Jesse, talk about Red Dead a little bit because I know you actually put significant time into it.
Yeah, nearly 40 hours into it. So Red Dead is a quality game. I'm not going to say it's not a quality game. It's on this list. It's a good game. But I think it's the biggest disappointment I've probably had, maybe of the generation.
Well, and by the way, it is fair to say everything on this list is a good game in some
Right.
way, shape, or form. That's
Right.
that's a given.
Not if your name's Celeste, but go on.
She's not on this list because you're a jerk. Okay.
Carry on.
So Jesse, you felt disappointed by this. Any specific reason why, or was it just you kind of ran out of steam with what was it about Red
Yeah,
Dead?
I just ran out of steam. So I loved the first Red Dead. Loved it. That was a great game. This one is so much slower.
Yeah.
It's way slower. And I get that they're going for that realism. They wanted you to really feel like a cowboy. That's great. I'm playing a freaking video game.
Thank you.
Yep. And I get everything you're saying with that, and that would be my gripe with the game as well. Is it definitely wants you to live in this world and play it one way, and it's deliberately slow. The way that he walks sometimes.
Let me run in a goddamn camp.
But it's not running in camps.
I've never heard so much anger about that specific thing.
Walking through doors, though, annoyed the shit out of me in that game because if you were running just a little,
burst through a door. You're trying.
It's true. I was just trying to speed up on the porch, and all of a sudden I bashed down their door with my shoulder. I'm like, "Hey!"
I know, and there was no
And then
in
they get
between.
pissed and you end up in a gunfight.
Yep, and then the other thing was riding your horse through town. If you were any more than just a bare minimum trot, people are like jumping out of your way. I mean, you're going like a reasonable rate, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, get out of the way! Like you're crazy. What are you doing?" It's like, what are you talking about? Like I'm being like I have my distance. I'm being very reasonable, and then you'd get so it did have its issues with that.
In defense of its slow pacing, and I'm not saying that I liked it because I actually complained about this in our early impressions of this game, because there are times I'm annoyed by it, like the inconsistent speed. You're either sprinting with Arthur or he's tiptoeing, and I hate that there's no in between. And that bothered me in town, going through doors, like you said. That actually ruined the immersion for me a bit when all I wanted to do was walk a little bit at a little more brisk pace through town. I don't care that they don't want me to sprint, but at least let me move a little faster. And as soon as I hit A, he just barrels through the door or whatever, and it's awkward. Everyone stops and look at you in the saloon. I'm like, sorry, hit the wrong button. Like didn't mean to do that. So I understand that gripe. But on the other hand, I do think the slow pace kind of plays to Red Dead's advantage when you really take time to just play that. If you got no other games on the horizon, nothing that you're kind of waiting to play, it's just about Red Dead, I think it kind of forces you to stop and appreciate how detailed and incredible the world is. Now, I'm not saying everyone should do that. I 100% see why it annoys a lot of people, but I also see why they did it that way. So that doesn't bother me, but it is a legitimate complaint. And if someone ranks something like Monster Hunter World, or if you're a big Divinity 2 fan, I don't hold that against you for putting it above Red Dead. But for me personally, now that I finished that game, finished both epilogues, did a whole bunch of the bonus stuff afterwards, I have found and I've played some of the Red Dead Online too, I have found myself really, really appreciating the way they did the pacing. I wish a few of their choices were different, but overall, I'm okay with the pacing. I think it's I don't know if it's a 10 out of 10, but it certainly is a fantastic game.
I thought the game over as a whole, it did really good, and I have issues with some of the slowness of it, but when you did slow down, play the game by its rules and how it wanted you to play, it's not a game you're going to be able to rush through. You really have to hang out, hunker down, and live in it.
Which is why when Jesse or Derek or anybody says, I kind of just ran out of steam, it didn't really hook me, I've got other stuff I want to play, I kind of don't argue with them. Like, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I
completely get it. I stuck with it. It's been almost 2 months with me. I want to say I put 60 some hours into the game.
Yeah,
maybe more. And I just finished the second epilogue today. It was a great ending, a good story. It was a little predictable in parts. Having played Red Dead Redemption, and the epilogue definitely did exactly what I thought it was going to do, but it still managed to surprise me. There were still twists in the story, things that I thought were interesting, impactful.
And it ties back into the original in some cool ways.
And what it did with its characters and its moments, the way that it draws you into those worlds, it really does connect you in with those characters and the world and everything going on. So I think that why it is divisive, it does something really special that a lot of games just don't do. And I think it should be higher on the list for what it did. It wasn't my favorite. I didn't have the most fun playing it this year, but it really does do something special. And I think those moments, really do shine.
Well, before we decide if Red Dead stays where it is or has to move down, Derek, talk to us a bit about Far Cry 5, or really any of you want to chime in on it as well. Talk a little bit about Far Cry 5, where you think that belongs and why.
Oh, Far Cry 5, for me, it's number 2. Why? Because it's fun.
We can't see Tim's face right now. I'm sure he's loving it.
Because he asked questions my wife would ask, and it's just I don't want to answer this. All right. Tim, I love you, by the way. Far Cry 5, and I know I've shared this with Jesse a ton of times because I've tried to get him to buy it so we can play it, is the best Far Cry easily.
How's it really all that different, though?
I wouldn't say it's all that different. What I think is amazing about it is there's a couple things that stick out. One is the co-op is a blast. It really is fun.
Yep.
And even if you're not playing with a friend, you always have an AI partner. So I like how you can unlock all these special AI partners that have their own strengths and weaknesses, and that plays to the strategy. In fact, at one point I was playing with a co-op partner, plus I had an AI partner. So I had 3 of us playing. And it was just a lot of fun to have them running around, and we would pick on the AI partner all the time. So there's that. And then there's also the fact that the story is the best Far Cry's ever had. The ending is, to me, one of the best twists of 2018.
It was such a cool ending. That was just you got the bad ending, I assume, right?
Yeah. So I think
it was awesome.
I think it's the best Far Cry easily, but I think it's a special game. It's above just, well, it's just another Far Cry. It's one that once you play it, you'll experience everything and you'll go, okay, yeah, gameplay wise, it's very, very similar, what you would expect. It's a sequel. But the way they present the story, the way it ends, the world, the co-op, the AI, all of that, I don't know. It's easily 2 for me.
I'm cool with Far Cry being 2.
I am too. Sorry, I had to step away for a second. I didn't want to hear what Derek had to say anyway. But I think Far Cry 5 is the best of the series, and I cannot wait for Far Cry New Dawn because of how much I loved it.
Yeah.
I love Far
Excited
Cry
about New Dawn.
5.
Yep. I honestly, I think, what Red Dead Redemption did that was special was maybe a little bit better, but I think overall Far Cry was the better game from start to finish. It was one heck of a ride. It was fun, never let up. And I think that it could easily be number 2 on this list.
Yeah. And I guess I'm thinking of it more knowing what Jesse and Derek think about Red Dead 2. For me personally, if I'm making this list, I actually have Red Dead 2 above Far Cry 5, my personal tastes. But when I'm thinking of it as a combined list and I'm hearing all the different opinions, Far Cry 5 has to be number 2. It's got to be over Red Dead for sure.
I mean, on my personal list, I'd have it probably at number 4, but I'd have Dead Cells at number 3. So, with everything that's going on, I think that, Red Dead would typically be higher than this on my list, but I'm okay leaving Far Cry.
What do we think about the assumption that Assassin's Creed Odyssey is sitting at number 1? We still good with that?
That feels great.
Totally cool with that.
Yep.
100%.
It is easily the best multi-platform game, the most fun of any game that appeared on a multi-platform. Just one hell of a package. Even if you just buy the $60 version of it. I bought the gold package that had the season pass and Assassin's Creed 3 remastered. I waited till it went on sale, so I got it all for $68 or $65, I think. So it was a good price, but just wow. So much good stuff there. And I even paid the $10 for the XP boost. And I'm still cool with thinking it's the best multi-platform game.
Yeah, it's my personal favorite, so I'm glad it's sitting at number 1. I've gushed about this game enough. Feel free to go back and listen to any episode from October 5th on. Basically, I mentioned something about AC Odyssey. I love that game. And it's certainly in the running for my favorite overall game of the year, too. So
yep.
I'm okay with that being number 1. I think it's the best of that. It's interesting. I think Ubisoft, with 2 of their biggest franchises, created 2 of the best entries in those franchises. So it's been a good year for Ubisoft, not to mention that they had a surprise fun game like Starlink. So I'm happy with what Ubisoft has done this year.
Yep. No, I think they've done great. But I mean, even though those are the new games they put out, they continue to support Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six and those types of games that they support. They do a really good job on. I think Ubisoft as a company, overall, they're a little overlooked. They do great.
Yeah.
They seem to get a lot of hate, and I don't really get it, to be honest.
I don't either.
I'm sure it's about their monetization. They put loot boxes and everything, whatever. Just don't spend your money on it.
Yep.
Exactly. For every, I know that some of you guys really hated on Watch Dogs 2, but for games like Watch Dogs 2,
I like Watch Dogs 2.
I did too. I liked it a lot.
You can use my name, Tim.
Yeah, Tim, I'm sorry that I didn't align with you on Watch Dogs 2 as much as you did, but I have come around.
Well, that's because you and Derek were just grumpy old men who were like, these are millennials. I can't play this game. Shut up. It's a fun game. Okay?
I think we teamed up on Dark Souls 3 that year, but I got to give you
We had an agenda. Dark Souls 3 needed to be.
Dark Souls 3 was not the best game of 2016. I'll say it again. Okay, anyway. Doom was better than Dark Souls 3, that's for sure. I think Doom ended up being my second favorite once I finally played it. That was so good. Okay, all right, I digress. So right now, this is what we've got for our top 10. I'm going to read it through again. If there's any final changes you guys want, and you might be too tired, which is great for me. That means I still get some of my favorites in the top. You might be too tired to make any arguments. But we've got Call of Duty Black Ops 4 at number 10, Hitman 2 at number 9, Soul Calibur 6 at number 8, Dead Cells at number 7, Divinity Original Sin 2 at number 6, Shadow of the Tomb Raider at number 5, Monster Hunter World at number 4, Red Dead Redemption 2 at number 3, Far Cry 5 at 2, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey at 1 for our best multi-platform games of 2018.
I'm cool with that.
That's one heck of a good list, I think.
I think it is too. And I do think it's interesting. That's why I like having more than just me and Derek, number one, because it brings out even more of his cruelty when others are around. But number two, because we get multiple voices in this, because I know that while some stuff we all agree, yeah, that was great, there's going to be other takes. Like a good example is Monster Hunter World or Shadow of the Tomb Raider, where we don't necessarily all align, but I think it creates interesting conversation around each of these games. It's been I think, pretty great year of gaming, and we also haven't even covered some of the best PS4 games, of course, that would be included in this list as well. So, and we didn't get to include Sea of Thieves in this list, which is a bummer. So,
Yeah, I'm really heartbroken.
Yeah,
over
we're
that.
really disappointed.
yeah. All right. Well, I think that's gonna do it for this time around. We've got a new guest here. Hi, Nev. Hi. So she hasn't played any of these games, so she has no opinions. Oh, but she did like Celeste.
No, she really didn't.
No, she didn't. But she likes Starlink a little bit, the space one.
Okay, then I like her again.
She loves Overcooked, that you can throw the food now.
Yes.
Now her opinion's trash.
Overcooked is fun.
Hey, me and my daughter 100% that game. We 3-starred every level, and
Is 2 easier than 1?
I don't know. I haven't played 2 yet. We want to.
The throwing mechanic does make it a little bit simpler, but dude, that game still gets real tough real fast. So it gets kind of crazy. And then there's my son Kale as well. What's your favorite video game you played this year?
Like DS or like
Anything, any video game.
Any video game?
Yeah. Quick, you're losing the audience. Quick.
On the spot. Let's go.
We see who's got Tim's personality.
What did you say?
He said that you're a lot like me, which is a good thing. I'm awesome.
I don't know which game I like the best.
Fortnite.
Well, son,
Fortnite,
you know
right?
I raised you to
I don't
really
know, probably Minecraft.
to honor and respect women. So
Minecraft.
clearly, the answer is
They're
Celeste.
still on Minecraft. Nev, what's your favorite game this year that you've played?
Well,
Was
we
it
haven't.
Pokemon Eevee? Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, probably?
So the new update just came out, so there's
boy.
gonna be a bunch of new stuff.
Oh, there you go. All right. Can we put the flashlight down? Okay.
I will say both his kids are more interesting than him and have better opinions.
And they're better looking. They've got everything going for them.
Yep.
More than I did.
Poor Tim.
Minecraft. All right, we're still in
Replaced. Replaced.
Can I just say though how proud I am that my kids are still Minecraft kids and not Fortnite kids? I just feel like that's better.
I don't like
do
Fortnite.
think
Fortnite.
that is better.
Look,
Yeah, I think it's better.
there's no point to the game of Fortnite.
See, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he does.
Please talk to my
I
son,
know what
Eli.
Fortnite.
My
He gets it.
daughter is getting into the Fortnite bug now, so all her friends are playing it. So she's logging on to.
Yeah, well, tell them they're about to shut down all the servers because of all these dancers that are suing them.
Yep.
the dance.
Done.
Really?
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Yeah, it's pretty
No,
funny.
that's great.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining. I know this was an extra long chat, but I appreciate it. It'll give folks hopefully something to listen to over the Christmas week. So for those of you listening, Merry Christmas. I hope it's been a good one, and I hope maybe we gave you some ideas of games to splurge on if you've got some extra Christmas cash to spend. Celeste is the good place to start.
Assassin's
No, it
Creed.
is not.
Thank God nobody listens to our show, so nobody's buying
Yeah, so it
anything.
shouldn't be a problem. All right, thank you guys so much, Jesse and Dan. Appreciate it. Derek, unfortunately, we'll talk again soon.
I can't wait to text you, my love.
Oh boy. That's what I do when he doesn't respond to me quick enough. I just say in all caps, "Love me."
He did today. That's great.
Oh man.
All right, see you guys later.
Good night, guys.
Who is your daddy? I am the father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?